The wheels of commerce are turning at Newcastle Airport with passengers, and plenty of them. This year, 750,000 were tipped to go through the airport. By year's end, that figure will have been exceeded.
As our partner airlines look to working new destinations into the local market, we see there'll be a significant expansion, and we could see in the next year or two numbers well exceeding 1 million.
A $9 million upgrade has just been completed. New cafes, a fast food outlet and improved baggage handling facilities to streamline services for passengers, and just in time for the Christmas rush.
We're very happy with the way the airport has kicked off now that we've done the $9 million worth of refurbishment. But then we have a strong influx of visitors and coming to visit their friends and relatives, and also we have a very strong leisure component.
Next on the horizon could be ventures into the international market, with Virgin Blue and Jetstar announcing their intentions to start Asian routes. Blake Doyle, NBN News.
Brian Carney was delivered to the Knights in one piece, just. The Great Britain winger battered from a pushbike accident shortly before leaving the UK.
Which isn't the best impression when I come to the place the first time, but I'm sure it'll heal up, get a bit of salt water on it.
Spared from today's gruelling hill sprints, Carney will join the squad when training resumes on January the 4th. Also in holiday mode, the injured Andrew Johns wasn't going to miss Carney's official welcome. The Great Britain international has lined up against the Knights' best at test level and now has 12 months to combine with those players.
Andrew Johns and Matt Gidley and Danny Badouris and the like, so no, I'm excited about that.
During his 5 years at Wigan, Carney played with Craig Smith, Luke DeVico and former Knight Matty Johns. A flying winger, Carney was among Great Britain's best at this year's Tri-Nations. He is destined for the Gold Coast Titans in 2007, but intends to have a big impact during his one-year contract with Newcastle.
Every game you want to perform to the best, no matter how long you're going to be there. I really want to give my best and give my all for this, for this team.
He's a good finisher. He's pretty busy out of dummy half. He's very strong, so I think he'll be a real good player for us next year.
Todd Nardi, NBN News.
This crash on the Pacific Highway 3 weeks ago rocked communities across the Lower Hunter and Great Lakes. A Maitland family of 4 in one car was killed. In the other vehicle, 5 members of 2 families from Bulahdelah and Pacific Palms were seriously injured. Among the survivors, Hannah Newton, who this week marked her 16th birthday, continuing to recover in the John Hunter. Hannah's stepfather, Scott Hickson, wasn't involved in the crash, but after what's happened to his wife and stepdaughter, today made this plea.
Take the trip seriously and take your time. Take it as a holiday. Take the trip as a holiday and relax and rest and survive. No one should go through what I've been through.
The Bulahdelah community's reaction to the crash was to do what they normally would, hold a fundraiser at the Plough Inn Hotel, which collected a staggering $30,000.
They really do pull together, and it's amazing the amount of money that can come out of such a small place.
Back on the highway, the early trickle of holiday traffic was brought to a standstill south of Bulahdelah when a car left the highway and landed on its roof. The elderly victim airlifted to Newcastle for treatment of her injuries. Travellers preparing tonight to head off are being advised by police to properly prepare for their journey and use driver reviver stops to try and avoid fatigue-related crashes. Gary Blair, NBN News.
Worms. compost-munching, food scrap-loving, squirming, juicy worms. They're the Christmas gift that keeps on giving, both to the recipient and to the environment. And they're perfect for those hard-to-buy-for friends and relatives.
If you have friends that have everything, a bucket of worms is probably ideal, particularly if they have children.
Another spin on the green Christmas present is the bicycle. It takes a car off the road and helps someone's health. There's also the environmentally friendly refit kit, which saves power and water and money for the homeowner. Or what about a compost bin or native plant? It doubles as a gift for the garden.
Quite a lot of people are concerned about the environment, and just because it's a Christmas time doesn't mean you should actually throw away all of those concerns.
In fact, the festive season is the perfect time to get really serious about recycling, as almost everything can be reused in some way, shape or form.
All the bottles, all the cards, anything paper, the wrapping paper, your bottles, your cans, everything can go into your recycling bins.
Jessica Phyllis, NBN News.
Everybody expected the Pirates to win last night, a situation vastly different to last weekend when no one thought the side would beat Adelaide.
Believe me, it's easier to go down and play Adelaide and Adelaide than try and play West Sydney here, because you're not expected to win down there. Here you are expected to win.
The Pirates were flat, and bottom of the table West Sydney stole a first quarter lead. It probably wasn't Ben Melmoth's intention at the time, but his little game of one-on-one with Graham Dan finally woke the Pirates up.
It certainly might have it saved me hitting our guys around the head to get their focus, so it's someone else to do it.
From there, the Pirates' intensity rose. Against his old club, Aaron Trahair couldn't miss from three-point range. And the star from Adelaide, Geordie Cullen, was again at his best, dominating inside for a game-high 27 points. The 96 to 85-point win, another victory without star import Mike Helms, still recovering from a knee injury. Helms will play in the NBL All-Star match next week. According to the league's rules, if he doesn't play the rep game, Helms will also have to sit out the Pirates following match.
I think they need to look at that rule and say, well, if you missed the game before, then obviously you're injured. You're not, and particularly in our case, we've sat him out for 2 games.
Todd Nardi, NBN News.
Gates opened hours before the first race at Broadmeadow, and in poured the crowd for what's easily the Newcastle Jockey Club's biggest day of the year. Many keen to pick up where they left off yesterday, while for others, Christmas Day was already well into overtime and the cheer wasn't the only thing flowing. With the memories of last year when some 20,000 fronted for the big day, the NJC had prepared for this day since February.
We're even looking next year at giving our ticket sales to a booking agency. I think there's been so many requests for tickets this year that we've got to probably take that next step.
Beefed up security and an extra police presence were also on hand to help ensure the day is remembered for all the right reasons.
To be fair, the quality of racing really doesn't warrant all the attention, but this is a race meeting that means so much to so many.
Jockey Alan Robinson couldn't wait. He returned from a 1-month suspension today. while the Spiro family just wouldn't miss it. Broadmeadow on Boxing Day is now as traditional as presents and pudding. So much so, they sponsored all 7 races on the card. The feature named after the youngest in the family, with the Dakota and Riley Spiro Cup. Bloodsport the winner at a healthy $11 the win and $3.20 the place.
Even if you weren't in the Sydney to Hobart, it was a great day for a sail along Newcastle's coastline. On shore, the beaches and pools were the perfect place to escape the summer heat and spend the day working off those big Christmas lunches. Slight seas made for a family-friendly Boxing Day at the beach.
We had a lot of international visitors to the beaches yesterday, and especially Nobbies and Newcastle are hosting a lot of tourists, and Bar Beach has been full with the families. But it's been great weather and great beach days, and everyone's enjoying their time.
Down at Lake Macquarie, this sandbank just inside the Swansea Bridge became a tropical oasis for boating families. Craft of all shapes and sizes were out on the water, from jet skis to launches and the more luxurious. And lakeside camping at this time of year is also proving popular. Those who didn't set up before Christmas pitched their tents today at Belmont, getting ready for New Year's Eve.
Come here, set up. Everyone's really social. The kids can play outside rather than inside. They've got a great pool. We've got the lake here. People bring their boats and their kayaks and surf skis, and it's great. We just sit here, look at the view, which is just gorgeous, and the kids play. It's really healthy family atmosphere.
Okay, may I see your licence, please?
Double demerits have been in force since December 23, and Hunter Police say so far motorists have been well behaved.
Generally everybody's been quite good. They've abided by our warnings. They've stuck to the speed limits, and they're stopping when they need to stop.
At Beresfield this morning, those clearly in holiday mode stopped for a hot cuppa and to stretch their legs at the Driver Reviver. Despite the increase in the number of cars traditionally on the road at this time of year, traffic flowed reasonably smoothly through the region's trouble spots.
The busy spots are the F3 freeways. People leave Sydney, where we are at the moment at Beresfield, and further north at Bulladila.
Earlier congestion at Bulladila was cleared by lunchtime. Police say patience is the key to a safe journey, and anyone who does try to rush things should expect to be caught. Jessica Phyllis, NBN News.
If you're using hoop nets, obviously you're targeting crabs. Be mindful of the bag and size limit. You're allowed to use 5 hoop nets. They should be marked with your name and address, or name and boat registration number.
Recent conditions have kept fireys on their toes, with lower hunter crews in particular feeling the heat. They responded to more than a dozen serious blazes in their command over the last week, and while the cooler weather has arrived, the big hot is certainly not over yet.
People need to be vigilant, because we are going into what we think is going to be, or the season's going to hot up from here, given that we're not getting any rain. And things are drying off dramatically with the way the temperatures have been, and especially the hot winds.
Back-to-back public holidays mean most residents will be enjoying today and tomorrow off work, a perfect opportunity to clean up the home in preparation for more serious fire danger.
Clear away any dead vegetation and leaves and grass, keep the grass well mowed. Green lawn is going to be an advantage rather than being just dry grass.
Northwesterlies are forecast for Wednesday, bringing with them scorching temperatures in the high 30s. While a total fire ban is currently not in effect, a permit is required for all open burning. Jessica Phyllis, NBN News.
And Aqua Moore, an amazing victory with the big weight. She'll go on and win it from County Tyrone and beat the Tide. Then Lord of the...
What a bonny mare she's turning into. A mare by Danehill from Romantic River by Irish River, and she is zooming. 390 on the tote. You could do a good bit better on track. And second was County Tyrone.
I think I'm capable of getting a medal, you know. You have to think that way and be positive and think big. But first things first, I have to get the A qualifier out of the way.
We've noticed about a 20% increase in first home buyers over the last quarter.
For Newcastle Airport, it's all a big numbers game, and one it's winning.
We started last year thinking we'd have 620,000 passengers. We revised that to 730,000 last year. We achieved over 750,000.
Pretty soon, the airport expects to have 1 million people passing through its new look terminal. With such growth, new destinations have been floated to the northern inland, the Riverina.
And maybe looking at also destinations such as Adelaide. We're working up a business plan for that at the moment to put to the low-cost carriers.
Aggressive marketing in the capital cities has been credited for the boom, attracting tourists.
We were staying at Port Stephens for a holiday for a couple of weeks.
Oh, it's fantastic. Clean, good food and great coffee, which is very important for us.
Just as important is the car park issue or lack thereof. The overflow area to help with growing pains is free now, but not for much longer.
What we are planning to do in the next month is to start construction of formalising all of those car parks. We'll hopefully by April have 1,200 car parks.
Adam McIlrick, NBN News.
Speculation over Michael Hagan's future at Newcastle was rife for weeks. Most of it has centred on a potential deal at Parramatta, and it's understood a firm offer from the Eels was made before Christmas, prompting Hagan's need for a decision from the Knights now, and it came mid-morning.
I asked the board for sort of an honest answer, and they've given me that and basically said that this will be my last year. So I probably thought as much, but I've just had that confirmed now.
Originally told his position would be reviewed mid-season, some believe the actual decision was made months ago, a claim rejected by club administration.
Stick at, but the board's position, I believe, was a genuine one, that they wanted to see how Michael went with extra support staff and a new support team.
A former teammate and now board member, Paul Harrigan, was the one who broke the news to players, who went behind closed doors for the meeting. While they were instructed not to speak publicly about the gathering, the theme was simply to inform and then focus back on football.
The chief expressed the view that the board and the administration was 100% behind Michael for this year.
The squad we've got, the work we've done, a lot of positive things to look forward to, and that's certainly not going to change from my end.
A time frame for finding a replacement has not been set.
I should stress that despite all the media speculation about who's going to be our next coach, there have been no firm decisions made.
Jim Callanan, NBN News.
Fed-up nurses met this afternoon and issued thermometers to take back to their wards. Nurse union members voted unanimously to increase their breaks, a stopgap measure to help heat-affected workers cope in non-air conditioned wards.
So when it gets over 30 degrees Celsius on the wards, we have a scale of work rests.
10 minutes per hour in the first instance, 20 when it reaches 32 and half an hour after 34 degrees. But the state government is yet to approve the scheme, given until the close of business on Monday to make a call. Nurses stress they don't want to take industrial action, but say they'll be left with no choice if the health department doesn't support the work rest regime. $200,000 has been set aside to start the air conditioning project, well short of the $9 million it's expected to cost.
It has to be this year, ready for next summer. We've had enough. 15 years old, John Hunter, our 15th anniversary on Monday. It's too long. We need it now.
But the government's given no guarantee to a start date. Nurses prepared to sweat it out if the interim measures are supported.
But they have to show good faith by getting in and getting it started.
Good faith now resting with the health department. Adam McIlrick, NBN News.
He was retired but wasn't content. Todd Wiltshire has enjoyed some ups and downs in recent times, so it seemed to make sense to be back amongst what he knows best.
I can do a whole story on my life, and it's been a bit of a rollercoaster ride, but I'm riding again now and feel great about it.
At 37, he knows time isn't on his side, but experience certainly is. Trailing 8-time Australian champion Lee Adams for the title by just 5 points, Wiltshire has the chance to win the national crown in Newcastle tomorrow night.
This is the one I've been waiting for, and I'm so thankful that it's our last round, and I'm still in it. I can still win the championship, and I mean, how nice would that be here?
Jason Doyle is an example of the rising stars of Speedway. Aged 20, the Cardiff rider has returned from a full year riding in England.
All my mates and stuff are going to be here, my family, so hopefully I have a big one after Mildura. Like last night got cancelled and had a good meeting at Mildura, so hopefully Newcastle goes even better.
It was a different story last night at Gosford. The third round of the series didn't even get started after a handful of riders claimed it was unsafe and the meeting was cancelled, leaving promoters out of pocket. It's taken a few clubs and many seasons' hard work, but Brad Davidson's longevity will be highlighted tonight against the Hawks. A relative latecomer to the league, his work ethic has now become his reward.
All the young guys give me a bit of crap about being the old guy on the team, so it just shows that I'm a little bit older than them, I guess.
The milestone has been largely overshadowed all week due to the financial plight of the franchise, which has been well publicised. Just what effect it will have on players will be evident tonight.
We've emphasised very much that once you step across that white line, then it's business and you just concentrate on the game.
It certainly seems to be the focus for the players, who know there's plenty at stake, with the playoffs fast approaching.
Big game for us. We're still trying to get a home final and get in the top 6, so it's a massive game for us. We'll start to lose touch with that 6th spot if we lose tonight.
Against one of the premiership favourites tonight, before backing up to play the 3-time NBL champ Sydney on Sunday, The solution for everyone's problems is easier said than done.
The best thing the guys can do for the future of this club is to play well and win games.
If you're a fisherman and you were hoping the marine park proposal would simply go away, think again. The state government has funded a 6-metre-long patrol boat, their first step towards protecting Port Stephens marine life since the December 1 marine park announcement.
Once the park is finalised, particularly the sanctuary zones and other areas have been declared, this vessel will be used not only for research but also compliance activity around the area.
While Ian McDonald has scored plenty of greenie points from environmentalists, he's also copped criticism from fishermen regarding a lack of consultation. But he says people will have a chance to make their opinions known through submissions and surveys. During his visit to Port Stephens, Minister McDonald met behind closed doors with recreational and commercial fishermen as part of the state government's consultation process.
The declaration of a marine park doesn't mean the end of these activities, but it does mean that in certain areas there will be no access for fishing, but these are relatively small areas.
The draft plan will be released in late April, early May. Jane Goldsmith, NBN News.
Locals have invited the state's Roads Minister Joe Tripodi to the site, a notorious intersection linking Tea Gardens and Hawk's Nest to the Pacific Highway.
If he was here today, he would see the accidents waiting to happen.
An RTA report has found the overpass won't be built until 2016 at least, attracting a price tag 3 times what it's going to cost now.
A $6 million price admitted by the RTA 9 months ago. Suddenly we have a report and it's $20 million. That says to me, code, we're not going to do it.
According to the state, the extra is called contingency money, otherwise known as budgeting for unforeseen circumstances.
If this is the way they're doing their costing generally, then they must be investigated.
In the meantime, the RTA remains committed to constructing a dual carriageway.
They've got the land acquisition, they've sculptured the road, it's a matter of putting some concrete down. Do it now, save lives and save money. That's the simple answer to this thing.
I call on Joe Tripodi, stand up to the RTA, Jim Lloyd will support him, and let's build this flyover now.
If there was ever an example of passing the buck, we've seen it today. A spokesman for the state's roads minister says the highway is part of a national network of roads, therefore it's a Commonwealth responsibility. You can't help but think, however, the state's roads unit would just as soon take credit for a job well done. Adam McIlrick, NBN News.
Wollongong's game was simple enough: shut down Mike Helms and score plenty of points themselves. A plan that by and large worked well. The All-Star was under all sorts of pressure, while other teammates got into foul trouble, including co-captain Brad Davidson, who got tech fouled.
It's my second tech foul in 300 games, so if that says anything about the frustration of it.
He wasn't the only one blowing up, as the home team had their say. But it was actions, not words, that spoke the loudest, and Wollongong continued to rack up the points. Ben Melmoth muscled up to the physical Hawks side, while Jason Everstein also stood tall. But a frustrating night was only going to end one way. The push and shove reflecting the mood of both sides.
We just completely lost focus.
Hunter hosts the Sydney Kings tomorrow night. A long way from home, a united New Zealand Knights stood tall, but divided they still fall when Alan Picken's on the charge. The Jets creating some nervous moments for the visitors. And after a mountain of possession, this hardly came as a surprise. Ante Milicic with enough on it to open the scoring. A Newcastle boy may be, Josh Maguire lines up in the other night's strip, and his entry sparked the Kiwis into action. A nonchalant strike forcing the best out of Liam Reddy. The second half was one of rare opportunity, defender Alan Peckin with the only real threat. Before substitute Labano Haliti livened everything up with a strike that's already labelled Goal of the Year. And it had a celebration to match. Off came the shirt, before a run along the stand back to his own bench. A bow to the crowd capped it off, an effort that scored him a yellow card. But when it's a goal this good, you couldn't deny him the enjoyment. He wasn't finished. A second goal minutes later capped a memorable night out and an important victory.
Ice blocks were offered to patients, staff and visitors today. The Nurses Association determined not to be given the cold shoulder. Even by its own admission, New South Wales Health says people with existing diseases or sicknesses should take extra caution in this heat. But in Sydney, heat's not a worry for major hospitals like the air-conditioned Westmead and Royal North Shore, unlike the John Hunter, one of the state's busiest hospitals.
We understand that there are constraints, but we are serious about requesting an undertaking to have air conditioning put into the place.
Relocating patients while work is being done is one of those constraints as area health officials look for room to put them.
Which we should have available with the commissioning of the new Royal Newcastle Centre alongside the hospital.
When will that become available?
That'll become available from about April.
Even then, it's up to the state government if it wants to part with the $9 million it's going to cost to carry out the project. As yet, no document has surfaced which supports a claim the public opted not to air condition the John Hunter's general wards originally. The battle was put on hold for a moment today to mark 15 years since the hospital opened. The John Hunter's first baby, born in 1991, today Cameron returned as a teenager.
Business conferences translate into big bucks for the Hunter. In fact, $5 million can flow into the local economy from just one event.
Each conference delegate that comes to the city and stays overnight is worth something in the region of $415 per delegate per day.
Ruth Appleby says there's also been a 76% rise in inquiries. That's partly thanks to conference facilities, including the Town Hall and Crown Plaza, plus an ever-expanding airport.
Places like the West Convention Centre, Noah's on the Beach, Panthers, they all make a very important contribution.
Last year, the Hunter hosted the Australian Trucking Conference, attracting 600 delegates, a structural engineering conference and 400 interventional cardiologists from more than 14 countries. And who could forget this conference dinner at the Stockton Sand Dunes for a visiting urological delegation, complete with belly dancers and camels. 2006 looks even brighter, with 50 conferences already confirmed.
But the biggest one would be the Network 21 conference, which will bring about 4,000 delegates to the city for 3 days in October 2006.
Morpeth Bowling Club was facing almost certain closure, and this is why. At lunchtime today there were no customers, but that's expected to change following a decision to amalgamate the club with the Beresfield Bowling Club.
It just needs promotion to their membership to get people in, and we certainly proved that just leading up to Christmas, that with the right sort of marketing, that the club can be successful in its own right.
The club has 420 members with just 60 who regularly use the greens.
Like the old saying, you've got to spend money to make money. We just haven't had the money to spend. So we've just been sort of struggling along for a while.
The merger is expected to be approved by the Department of Gaming and Racing next month. That will take the number of hunter clubs that have amalgamated or closed in the past decade to 23. And while Morpeth is one of the lucky ones, it's feared it could be the last to be thrown a lifeline as larger clubs struggle to cope with hefty taxes.
I think the amalgamation option is not going to happen again. And I think most of them will just die, and unfortunately it means a loss of a community asset.
It came midway through the final quarter. Sydney was well in front, but frustration levels were even. Hunter Pirate Geordie Cullen and King's big man Ian Crosswhite in the crosshairs of match officials, both ejected. The NBL has already cited them, but will review vision of the incident before taking further action. The night had begun so well. Aaron Trehair and Mike Helms getting Hunter away, with the import showing why he's always worth a look. This was everyone's first sight of Sydney's replacement player, Cedric Webber, but not even his own team expected to see this. A 17-point opening quarter helping the Kings into a narrow lead. But from then on, it didn't seem to matter who threw it up for Sydney. The Kings nailing 25 shots from three-point range, a league record.
And any team would shoot 60% from the three-point line. I don't care if you've got guys in your face or not in your face. That's unbelievable.
Just not in the fight. Hunter still fired a post-match warning not to count them out.
So anyone who writes us off, or anyone who degrades us, or anyone who thinks we're humiliated, or anyone who thinks we're an embarrassment to the league, I think you jump into conclusions too early. Okay. No.
No one likes missing games, but when you're suspended, it's twice as hard. And after 1 week out, Jade North is available once again. He's sure to come straight back into Newcastle's side to play Melbourne on Sunday, a side that will be without Socceroos striker Archie Thompson, and that suits the defender just fine.
It's a great sign for us, someone like his, what he can do, he can change a game.
Thompson was the difference overnight, scoring the match winner for Melbourne against Queensland in his farewell game before joining Dutch giants PSV Eindhoven. Labano Haliti is just happy to get whatever game time he can with the Jets. If he keeps up efforts like this long-range bomb against New Zealand, it'll be hard to get him off. Those celebrations are still being talked about. His teammates certainly won't let him forget. But it was the crowd he really hopes enjoyed it all.
It's been good to me, and obviously been good to us supporting all throughout the year, so I need to give something back to them, so obviously I hope that's something and more to come.
Mateo Cordobo also comes back this week. However, Steve Eagleton will have scans tomorrow to find the full extent of a foot injury suffered against New Zealand. Jim Callanan, NBN News. Home and hardly resting country music, indeed the media can't get enough of Catherine Britt after hitting her straps in Nashville.
I spent 11 months there this year and then came home. So that was a bit tough. Obviously, I got a bit of an accent, which I'm getting teased terribly about from all the Novocastrians.
But it's Catherine who's enjoying the last laugh. Not everyone can say they've sung with the likes of Sir Elton John and released an international single. With three older brothers, Catherine, or Kate, had no choice but to find her voice early in life.
We listened to this music and she picked up on it.
Our voices in the car on the way to places.
Yeah, if we went on trips, we'd play music and yeah. So it just happened.
Go on, belt out a few tunes.
Oh no.
There's only one singer in this family.
The 21-year-old represents an unlikely yet successful story of the coastal girl turned country princess. Her next campaign is Tamworth, where her song Poor Man's Pride is nominated for Best Video.
A Golden Guitar nomination is huge. I dreamed about that when I was a little girl. You know, just getting to go is a big deal.
Whatever the result, though, you get the feeling Catherine's already won. Adam McKilrick, NBN News.
Two of Jim Ray's great loves are having a chat and, of course, the Coastal Patrol. Today he combined the two nicely. While plenty of people in the region do volunteer work, there aren't many who devote 4 decades to an organisation. Now a very sprightly 82, Jim joined the Lake Macquarie Coastal Patrol in 1965. Back then the patrol didn't have a base. In fact, it didn't even have a boat. The early members, like Jim, used their own vessels and didn't have sophisticated communication systems, but that didn't stop them from helping people in trouble on the water.
But it could be any day, any time, and by anybody. And that's what happened with the Coastal Patrol.
Jim was the Lake Macquarie commander from 1972 to 76. In that time, he was instrumental in setting up the patrol's first radio base at Marks Point. His reason for such long service?
I must have liked it.
I don't think there are many that have done more than 40 years and still going.
And don't worry, we're fairly sure he's had a good time along the way.
We never got drunk, did we, mate? No. No. Well, that never happened while we were in the boats.
This is the material that's angered the Migrant Resource Centre. The bulletin of the Australian First Party has been distributed to homes around several Newcastle suburbs. It claims the risk of racial violence occurring in Newcastle has increased due to the presence of Sudanese refugees. The leaflet states, "The spectre of racial violence stalks Newcastle. It is the violence of angry and alienated young men torn out of Sudan, one of the most violent societies on earth." The letter goes on to say the only real policy would be to resettle the refugees back in Sudan with the help of the UN.
These are very, very offensive and dangerous things, and they do, in our view, constitute an incitement to racial hatred.
The Australia First Party is linked to extreme right-wing group the Concerned Citizens Collective, which distributed race-hate propaganda and held a poorly attended rally in Islington Park 12 months ago. On Australia Day next week, 12 people from Newcastle's Sudanese population will be gaining Australian citizenship. The Migrant Resource Centre says most refugees, once they're eligible, apply for citizenship immediately.
And I think that tells us something, or should tell us something, about their commitment to this country, and about their wanting to engage with it, and their recognition that it is home.
Todd Nardi, NBN News.
I've coached just about every age group in state level netball, and yeah, just about everything that's happened as far as coaching goes, I've been involved in it.
He rarely plays these days without some kind of discomfort, but a slight change to shoe inserts has made a huge difference for one of the Hunter's mountain men, Ben Melmoth. Able to train freely all week, it's keeping his teammates' minds on the job, given the raft of on and off-court issues.
There's maybe little things that are bugging the guys, but I mean, we've been together for 2 years now, and the boys are really close, and that something that goes on off the court tends to be forgotten pretty quick.
There's no hiding the stats though. Hunter has won just once in Adelaide, but at least that was on their last trip to the City of Churches. It was something of a homecoming for the Newcastle Jets. Outside of home games, today's training session was their first at Energy Australia Stadium since round 7. Manager Richard Money liked what he saw, but wants a little give in the ground before kick-off.
I'd like to think we'll get some rain before Sunday, and if not, I'm going to speak to the curator now to see whether we can get a little bit of water on it. But other than that, it's a good surface.
Defender Mateo Cordobo is out for Sunday's game, but Melbourne's muscle man Kevin Muscat is back. And after 7 weeks without football, he'll see plenty of work.
We all know that can be pretty difficult, especially 5 o'clock on a Sunday afternoon, so we'll see how he copes.
Reading between the lines, you think he might get a bit of work?
Well, let's see how he copes.
Jim Callanan, NBN News.
It's been a tumultuous year for news, with death and destruction reported from around the globe, leading library manager Noel Nelson to warn visitors to prepare themselves for the images on offer.
This is probably the most confronting exhibition that we've had for the Walkley Awards. We've got the Barney 9 photographs, of which, of course, we have a local involved with that. We've got the tsunami. We have so many other stories here that are really quite challenging.
Even the sporting pictures are gruesome, from bloodied boxers to eye gouging.
This leaves you with no doubt whatsoever what the effect might be and how painful it might be to get your eye gouged.
Next door in Lehman Street at the Newcastle Region Art Gallery, director Nick Mitsovich is preparing for a big 2006. From the very traditional 19th century landscapes by convict artists and other works from the gallery's permanent collection to a portrait competition with a prize of $30,000. But Nick Mitsovich is most excited about an exhibition late in the year which features the most up-to-the-minute works.
We're always bringing new works into the gallery's collection, so to complement the very traditional, we've got the very cutting edge.
The umbrellas were back at Belmont today, but in the morning rounds it was to keep off the sun, not rain. Strong winds, though, still made Day 2 a real challenge for the international field. Starting a two-shot leader, Emma Bennett was under threat from those closest, with playing partner Sarah Nicholson making quick headway with an eagle putt on 5. The field closed even quicker, with Bennett unable to find the form that got her off to such a good start in the opening round. She wasn't the only one. Heather Warren began 2 under, only to finish 6 over. Joining her on that score is Sarah O. The Sydney teenager showed glimpses of why she's the #1 junior in both state and country with some pinpoint approach play. The 2004 winner, though, still has it all to do for title number 2. She's 7 shots behind West Australian Christy Smith, who was steady today, picking up a stroke to be the only player under par for the tournament. Breathing down her neck, though, Kate Thomas and Nicholson, who are at even par with 2 rounds remaining.